We talk about contextualization in our evangelical Protestant language. Catholics talk about inculturation, and I prefer inculturation to contextualization. The reason is that I believe there is no contextualization possible until it becomes enculturated. That means that we blend into and become part of that community in such a way that the references of that community become our own. We're not just referring to people and books and ideas that come from just Christendom and from our favorite Christian authors, but no, using their language, their poetry, a little bit like Paul did in the book of Acts.
Jesus went about to all the towns and villages throughout Galilee. But most people don't realize that he also lived in one town during his ministry years, and that was the town of Capernaum. He cursed Capernaum, but before he cursed it, he ministered to it. And I think it's really important for us to understand that we need to love where we are. We need to speak prophetically to it, but we also need to love where we are and minister to it.
I think that what needs to happen in our cities is that there is a recognition of cities being places, because of their size and their diversity, that we have multiple locations operating within our cities. So if there's a location that is doing really great work in terms of providing training, and that's what they feel they're meant to do, then let's have other ministries come into those cities that are actually focused on direct ministry in the city, as YWAM is.
There are a lot of great stories going on in multiple YWAM locations in North America of individual staff or small staff teams that actually are engaging locally. Only we don't hear about that as much because the emphasis, even within our communication websites, recruitment, is a lot about training you to send you. And so it's kind of an unsung treasure within North America.
I had a conversation very recently with a woman, spontaneously, who is a sex worker. She said, "Girl, how long do you wait for folks when they don't show up?" And I said, "So, how long have you been waiting?" And she said, "Half an hour." And then I say, "You know, you are worth respecting. Your time is worth respecting." And this cool discussion right in the street, that's the kind of thing that I get to have because I live in the neighborhood.
What I've seen, which I think is really ironic, is we have volunteers come to serve with us. And we've had a few now that were struggling with their faith. And after spending a month or two with our kids, I mean, their faith is vibrant again. They're convinced again that God is the truth. And so it's the childlike faith of our at-risk kids speaking into the hearts of the jaded hearts coming out of universities. I think we are bringing stability into our community, but it's because we're collaborating. And we're inviting all voices to the table. And we were invited to the table, humbly. I mean, I'm humbled by the way we've been invited in.
In Hurricane Katrina, my wife and I came back and we looked at our buildings, and my wife said, "I don't think I can do this." And she started crying. Well, I didn't. I felt the same thing. And when my son said, "I want to be part of rebuilding New Orleans," a scripture came to my mind that I knew and quoted so often in missions, that your descendants shall rebuild the ancient habitations. And I felt like I just heard my son repeat the call of God to my life.
And honestly, it just started with me sitting around a table with some teachers and a principal and just started asking questions about our community, about the society we live in. And it just led to then the superintendent of our district hearing my name because I was asking questions, and she started inviting me to different boards to sit on, and she just opened the door for me to be involved. And honestly, it was just because I was asking questions. And to me, that's what politics has been about, is just asking the right questions and processing with people how to bring healthy change to community.
St. Ignatius of Loyola, back in the 15th century, I believe, he wrote 6,000 letters to his followers, his Jesuit followers, leaders, and out of the 6,000 letters he wrote, 1,200 of them were on property acquisition. And he told his Jesuit friends, his leaders, he said, when you find a property, make sure it's big enough for house and home and church, but most of all, make sure it's within walking distance of the conversation of the city. Today, if you visit Loyolas around the world, well, they're all in the cities, in the heart of the cities. They had an urban landmarking intentionality. And they put that in their mindset to find property in this heart of the city, buy it, and then build their cathedrals and make sure that it was within walking distance of the people they were trying to reach. I think we as YWAM need to do the same thing.